What is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of King Jing Sports Things. I am your host, King Jing, and today I've got something a little bit different for you guys. Typically, before I hit record on one of these videos, I take the time and I really go and do a deep dive into some of these subjects that I'm trying to speak on. I'll take notes, I'll sort of structure out the video into small clips, and then I put it all together just so it seems a little bit more professional. But today I want to do something a bit different. Simply because before I went to bed last night, I had something that crossed my timeline while I was doom scrolling Twitter, and it just irked me the wrong way. And it's a thought that I have, had previously, but maybe it's just because I got a dog in this race this time around, but this just rubbed me the wrong way. I felt, why not just press record, one roll, and, F it, we ball, I was on Twitter last night and I saw that the leader of the Most Improved Player Award this year was Cade Cunningham. And to me, the Most Improved Player Award is meant for players who maybe are outperforming their draft stock. They've been in the league for a couple years. Maybe they started their career out in the G League and the developmental league, and they have put in the work to work themselves into the lineup, and eventually became a starter, not a star. You don't necessarily have to be a star to win this award. But there's just been gradual increases of work that has been put in over the years, and they're outperforming their draft stock. And every few years we have a case where the NBA seems to prop up a player that has been drafted with a high draft pick, who they're just pushing for this award. And this year it happens to be Cade Cunningham. And I want to preface this by saying that I have nothing against Cade Cunningham. I like him as a prospect. He can kind of do everything out there on the floor, and he is having a career year. Don't get me wrong. But the Cade Cunninghams of the award, or of the world, aren't the ones that this award is made for. They're meant for the guys who are putting in work, who may not have been projected to get to the level that they are currently performing at. And when you're a guy who's drafted with the first overall pick, almost a consensus of everybody believes that you deserve to be the first overall pick, why are you being considered for the Most Improved Player Award? Like I said, historically, the league doesn't choose these guys who are high draft picks who end up, winning this award. But over the last few years, I would say every 3 or 4 years, one of these guys tend to slip through the cracks. And I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me. Let's take it back. We're just going to look at the last 10 award winners. In 2015, Jimmy Butler won that award. And a little bit of background on Jimmy Butler is that he was drafted with the 30th overall pick in 2011. The dude was never supposed to be a star in this league. Most people who are drafted at the end of the draft, you are pretty much vying to be a role player. You want to get a nice 8-year career in this league. You might jump around to a few teams, but an all-star appearance, an all-NBA appearance, that's not necessarily on your plate. But this is a man who put in the work to get better every single year. And 4 years into his career, he blossomed. He went from a 13 points per game player to a 20 point per game player. He carved out a role on his team, and he succeeded in that. And he was awarded with the Most Improved Player Award. And look at him now. He's been a perennial all-star. He's had multiple all-NBA appearances. And that's the kind of guy you want to focus on in this, you know. The next year, CJ McCollum ended up winning that award. He was a top pick. You know, that it's whatever. He put in the work. Sure. Maybe he deserved it that year. 2017, our boy Giannis Antetokounmpo won the award. He was drafted in 2013. I believe he was the 15th overall pick, and he was drafted as a prospect. The dude had barely played basketball before. He was like a baby deer running out there. He needed to learn how to become a basketball player. He had all of the tools. He had the size of what teams are looking for, but there was never any promise in this kid. And look at him now. He's gone on. He's won an MVP. He has led his team to the finals and won that finals MVP. The year that he won the most improved player award, he jumped from 17 points per game to 23 points per game. And he solidified himself as the leader of that team. But the focus on is that he was the 15th overall pick. And he ended up winning that award 4 years after that he was drafted. So there has been time to develop his game to truly get better as a player. Let's look to 2019. Pascal Siakam, the winner of the Most Improved Award. 27th overall in 2016. Drafted in 2016, won the award in 2019. 3-year gap. That's what you're looking for. But the thing about Pascal Siakam is that he was never supposed to be an all-star. And now he is. He has put in the work to get to this level. Pascal Siakam spent half of his rookie year, not as a starter, but in the developmental league, the G League. There was no promise that he was even going to make it into the big leagues in the NBA. That year, he jumped from 6 points per game to 19 points per game. That year, the Toronto Raptors end up going on and winning the NBA championship, where Pascal Siakam was a crucial role. He may not have been the best player on that team. Obviously, your eyes go to Kawhi Leonard, who was acquired that offseason. It goes to Kyle Lowry, somebody who had been on the team for years and has always been the number one guy. But here's an opportunity for a guy who was never supposed to make it in this league. And as the third guy, ends up helping his team win the national championship. Now, more recently, we have the Lauri Markkanens of the world. He was drafted 7th overall in 2017. He's a little bit different than the other guys that I just named off because he was drafted with a top 10 pick. But the thing that separates Lauri Markkanen out is the dude was traded twice before winning this award. He had been drafted by the Chicago Bulls, and he didn't really pan out there. He was then flipped to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and once again, couldn't really find a home in Cleveland. It took him going to his third teams after people had already written him off as an NBA player. And he was able to solidify himself as the guy for the Utah Jazz. He jumped from 15 points per game to 25 points per game. Those are the kind of guys that we want to give this award to, that we want the NBA to sort of say, hey, you casuals that are watching, watch this guy. This guy could be next up. Now, last year, Tyrese Maxey ends up winning the award. He was a 21st overall pick in 2020. He jumps from 20 points per game to 25 points per game. He was like the third or fourth option, and he created a nice little role in Philadelphia with the Sixers. And, you know, he was able to hold it down any day that Joel Embiid may have missed. And he proved that he could be that guy. But I feel like that's where you need to sort of draw the line for this award. We've got a guy in Cade Cunningham who was drafted first overall in 2021 by the Detroit Pistons. Everybody expected him to eventually become an all-star. Everybody expected him to once, you know, he found his place in this league, to be the guy for the Detroit Pistons. That is why you draft somebody first overall. Maybe not this past year. Love you, Zach. But, you know, more than likely you're a role player at this, but that's besides the point. You have a guy in Cade Cunningham who was always supposed to be what you're seeing today. So why are we putting an additional spotlight on this guy? Where you have a guy in Dyson Daniels who was forgotten about, who, when he was traded from the New Orleans Pelicans to the Atlanta Hawks in that DeJounte Murray trade, he wasn't even mentioned in the original tweet when that news broke. He was a throw-in. They acted like this guy didn't matter. And at the time, he didn't. You know, he had some defensive flashes with the Pelicans, but they were so deep over there in New Orleans that he never really got a chance to shine. He never really got the chance to get minutes over there. And he wasn't really expected to do much with the Atlanta Hawks either, to be quite honest with you. But now he has solidified a role with Jalen Johnson out. He has proven that he can be the number 3 guy for the Hawks. Hell, he might even win the Defensive Player of the Year award this year. More than likely not, you know. Evan Mobley has been doing well. Jaren Jackson Jr. has been doing well. But the guy's leading the league in steals. The most amount of steals that anybody has had since, Chris Paul? This is ridiculous what this guy is doing. And the man has taken a legitimate leap in this in the league this year. Those are the guys that we want to highlight. But whoever's voting on these awards every single year for the NBA, they always tend to put a little bit more focus on these bigger named players who, like I said before, were meant to make these leaps. And unfortunately, I think we're going to have another case this year where Cade Cunningham wins the award when somebody like a Dyson Daniels, like a Jalen Williams for the OKC Thunder, like a Christian Braun for the Denver Nuggets, even Tyler Hero. You know, Tyler Hero was drafted with a higher draft pick, but even him, he is taking a big enough leap to where I would recognize that as somebody who is deserving of recognition in the Most Improved Player award, but not a Cade Cunningham. This seems to be a 2022 scenario all over again when Ja Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies won the award. Ja Morant was drafted with the 2nd overall pick, and obviously Zion Williamson was the 1st overall pick that draft. There was a little chance that he wasn't going to go number 1, but I remember at least there was some sort of discourse where maybe a team might want Ja over Zion in that draft. But the point is, when Ja was drafted with that high of a draft pick, there was a certain expectation that he was going to make these sort of leaps. And that is the problem that I have. If we look at the odds at the beginning of the season for the Most Improved Player awards, who do you think was the betting favorite to win the award? I'll give you a hint. It wasn't Cade Cunningham, surprising enough. But it was another player who was drafted first overall. It was Victor Wembanyama, who was just drafted last year. You expect him to take a leap. And don't get me wrong, Victor Wembanyama was having an incredible year this year. He was obviously the front runner in the Defensive Player of the Year award. Hell, he could have won it last year as well. But do you really think he deserved the Most Improved Player award if he was already being talked about all along? These are things that we expect for these sort of guys, you know, with the Cade Cunninghams, the Victor Wembanyamas, the Ja Morants, even the Julius Randles of the world. He ended up winning the award back in 2021. He was drafted with a high draft pick by the Lakers. He ends up getting flipped to the Pelicans. But when he was in that trade, he was the number one guy. He was supposed to come to the Pelicans and help that rebuild. He was supposed to be the guy for the Pelicans. So why are we encouraging voters? Why are we encouraging fans to get behind players like that when you have more no-name guys who truly deserve that sort of spotlight? I don't know, man. It just rubbed me the wrong way. This could have easily been a tweet. I've tweeted it before. But yeah, just rubbed me the wrong way. I think we need to put the highlight or the spotlight on guys who have truly taken leaps every single year and was never expected to be this sort of all NBA, all-star caliber players, such as the Cade Cunninghams, the Julius Randles, the Brandon Ingrams, the Victor Wembanyamas of the world. Bring back Most Improved Player. Do what's right, NBA. Give it to the boy Dyson Daniels. Give it to the Jalen Williams of the world. Give it to the Emmanuel Quickleys, the Kobe Whites of the world, who are truly outperforming their draft stock. But hey, you might disagree with me. If you do, leave a comment. If you agree, leave a comment. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time. Appreciate you guys.